Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Big Ten Mafia Show. I'm your host, Sergeant Pickles, and with me, as always, is the fantastic Becky Go Huskies. How we doing, Becky?
Good. Doing good tonight.
And the equally fantastic playoff-bound Mr. Buckeye, Moen After Dark. How we doing, Moen?
Doing good. Got 4 in, guys. 4 deep in this.
I mean, getting right into it, I respect the headgear choice. I feel like it's the occasion of the day that we got that 4th team in, and Indiana made the cut.
Yeah, who could have thought about that Indiana would be playing in the first round of the playoffs this season?
I do like that after all the hand-wringing about teams getting in or out, it wasn't really Indiana on the bubble. It was a certain SEC team that we will discuss later on. But hello to our early viewers, Ryan, Willie. Your Badgers are looking for a new quarterback. I saw that today. But I think Wisconsin goes with one of the young ones now that he hit the portal. Yeah, the portal, the carousel of quarterback, portal is kind of hit or miss. And it seems like there's more miss than hits, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
I don't know anymore, because players could be a miss and then go to the next school and be a hit. But, I mean, we already have quarterbacks like was it Heward, who was a Husky, and then he went to Cal Poly, then he went to Utah, and he's back in the portal. And he hasn't played but one FBS game. So I think at some point we have to ask, are they busts? When do we start calling these kids busts? Like, they're not doing it.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, an aspect of not living up to your star rating, but half the time I almost feel like it's kind of poor coaching or poor player development because they're so eager to move on and replace you with another guy from the portal. Your guy doesn't, sit on the bench for 2 years and learn behind starting talent at your school. So the portal giveth and taketh away for all of us, but we'll see what's in store. It definitely makes it interesting.
I think for teams like Wisconsin, though, Ryan, I think Fickle's on the bubble. I think he knows that. I think he's going to go get a portal quarterback. He does not want to have to try and coach up a young guy with that season, with that schedule next year. I think they will go in the portal and grab a QB.
Yeah, I think they have to get a quarterback. Like, they feel like a quarterback away with their system anyway. And the quarterback play they got this year was not adequate. And, really their starting quarterback only played against, Alabama? Before he got hurt?
He was out on the first drive,
yeah.
too. So.
Yeah, I don't know where to go with it. Like, they have to find a quarterback. Iowa's still in the hunt for a quarterback.
And and the thing is, they're bringing in a brand new offensive coordinator in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to get his pick. He's going to have some input on who they go and grab.
Yeah, and I which is great. I think there's a little talk today that Dylan Raiola is entertaining the thought of becoming a Hurricane. That came up today. I was like, please say it's one guy, and it's not one guy. It is a literal rumor that he's entertaining the thought of becoming a Hurricane, and I'm like, that would put Nebraska in the market for a quarterback. Like, I don't even know where to begin with this.
If we get to the point where it's legitimately free agency and you're bidding to keep a guy that's got a safe starting spot every year, I want no part of this. You might as well sell it to the NFL. I mean, a guy that literally Raiola, I mean, he's locked in. He's going to be the starter as many years as he wants to at Nebraska. Why would you go somewhere else? You're already in a power conference. You're in one of the big 2 conferences. I don't. If it's really about the money, you might as well go pro. Like, let's just scrap the college model.
I think at some point, some of these kids, they're looking at it like, 1, it's to get to the pros. 2, it's to get paid. But also 3, can I win there? And I think, no offense to Nebraska, but you have a better shot at competing in the CFP by going to Miami because it's an easier path. Essentially, you don't have to go through a Penn State, an Oregon, or an Ohio State to get there. You only have to beat yourself. You have to beat, Clemson. SMU apparently is really good. Florida State Who knows if they'll eventually be good again? But you have a situation where it's a little bit easier to make it. And I think, if you want to win a national title or compete for it, you have to leave. Like, you have to go somewhere. So I think that's part of it.
We shall see. There's definitely more portal action to come. It'll heat up a lot as we get into bowl season with
just open today. It's open 7 hours.
I told you guys in the group chat, I've had to almost mute Hayes Fawcett because of all the color saturated portal announcement graphics. It's not really a special occasion anymore. Moving on down, Timothy Green doesn't think the SEC will win the national championship, believes it'll be the Big Ten. Statistically speaking, Big Ten has 4 shots at it. So you're in 3 different arms of the 4-armed bracket. So it does favor the Big Ten, but I don't think there's a team that can't win on any given day. There might be some heavily favored teams, but I think Boise could beat SMU or Penn State given, something crazy happens in a game. I don't think there's any unwinnable matchups is what I'd say. I
don't think Clemson's going to get past the first round. I think
Clemson, okay. Really?
Easily the weakest team in the field. I think they'd play anybody in that field and they would lose.
You think they caught SMU on an off day kind of thing?
I think SMU, listen, they got lucky on that return.
Yeah.
If they didn't get that return and it went to overtime, the momentum was clearly on SMU's side. So,
yeah, they blew a big lead. Did we forget that? They blew a big lead to SMU. The SMU clawed back in there and should have won that game in the end. But
we can get
the difference.
We can get to the breakdowns in just a moment. Just wanted to say hello to some of our early crowd for being in here. Clay Johansson. Sorry, Moen, I got to do it. I'm a neutral party. Go blue. Beat Alabama. I'm all for it this year. Absolutely.
Yes.
You're fighting for the Big Ten on this one, so I'm with you. Bob Swinger. Hello, my friend. Joaquin Morales and the fighting Cam Scatterbows absolutely smashed Iowa State. Sorry to my Cyclone friends, but after that first quarter, man, it was just Cam Scatterbo dropping bodies left and right. It was awesome. I got to watch most of that one.
Oh God, that was a great game. That was it, like a 45-yard run
with 7 broken tackles, full on wrapped up broken tackles.
Looked like Marshawn Lynch running out there in Beastquake. I was like, oh my God, I've seen this before.
Incredible stuff. I'm excited. I think Arizona State to me is one of the just total question marks in the playoff. I don't know if they can win it all, but I think they can put up a fight against both the guys they got coming at them. Even Texas. Alrighty, Daniel Gygax, one of our co-hosts on the Big 12 Mafia show. Be sure to check that out on Tuesdays. They have a conference champion with an unfamiliar face, so I'm sure they're going to have a lot to say on that game. And then whether or not some of their other teams deserve to have a look in the playoff. I know that's been a topic of discussion, and BYU was kind of left out of it at the end there, but strong season by BYU, and I think they deserved a little more consideration than they got. Speaking of, Shonsky, good evening, my friend. And Glenn Lumen, good morning from the Philippines. Hello. Illini Ted popping in, good evening. Illini, you have an interesting bowl game. We'll touch on the bowls a little bit later, but I'm actually quite interested in the Big Ten bowl slate. But moving on down, we touched on it a little bit. We can start with Clemson SMU for the ACC championship. Clemson 34, SMU 31. Clemson was leading, and SMU scored, I believe it was 17 in the fourth to make a game of it and nearly come back and win. What do you guys think? I know, Moen, you're not real hot on the Clemson Tigers going into the playoff.
Well, I figured Clemson would win this game just based on experience, but the fact you give up 17 points in the fourth quarter, come on, guys. That's not championship level defense. That's just bad defense. And I mean, it's not like they were running some trick play all the time. Yeah, they had the one trick play, the flea flicker, back and forth, the triple reverse flea flicker maneuver. But listen, they were just thrown to open receivers. The secondary of Clemson, they could not get it done in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Clemson, they're just they're not quite at that level that they've been the past decade. I know they're still recruiting at a high level, but they're just missing that extra spark that pushes them into that true contender discussion, it seems like.
No, I think Clemson outplayed themselves. Like they played to a level they haven't played all year. Because if you watch Clemson play, you would question. Like I questioned them even. I was like, how did they even get into this? The game that really comes to mind was Pitt. Like they needed big plays to get back into the game against Pitt after blowing a lead, and Pitt was just right there. In the end, they're constantly in. They're not blowing teams out. They're not really beating teams up. They're just kind of in it, and you're like, But SMU came out flat, and like Moen said, suddenly in the fourth quarter, guys are wide open. They're doing whatever they want offensively, and it took a literal big run on a kickoff to get them into field goal range, basically. Like, this is how they do it. They did the same thing against Pitt. Like, it took a quarterback run to get the lead back against Pitt. Like, they're relying on a big play here and there, and you can't win a national title just hoping you get a big play. Like, I get keeping teams close. They're probably going to keep games close. Like, Texas will probably be a little tight. But, I mean, Steve Sarkisian has watched that fourth quarter tape and is already salivating what his wide receivers are going to do against that defense.
Yeah. I mean, Texas is dealing with some injuries, too. I know, I think it was Isaiah Bond got kind of banged up in that Georgia game. But they're still potent. They still got weapons everywhere. They have shown to be beatable. I think Texas has put up some kind of meh performances, but they're one of the teams, I think, in my short list of who I think could win it all if they get hot at the right time.
I think Texas is the best team in the tournament. The question is, like you said, will they put it all together? Will they have everything go their way? I mean, against Georgia, they threw Manning in there just because they needed to get a mobile quarterback going. Like, and then look, and come back in Quinn Ewers after a 5-yard run, and so there's a lot. Like Clemson, I don't know about this. Like Clemson stole. Like, by the way, Clemson stole a playoff bid. Like, They stole the playoff bid. Yes. End of story. They stole the playoff bid.
They backed into their championship game.
Yeah.
Yep. Bob Swanger is pointing out, if not for Clemson winning, Bama would be in the playoffs. I agree with you 100% on that one.
Very true. Like, this Georgia-Texas game was ugly.
Oh, my gosh.
Ugliest game I've watched in a long time.
6-6 at half, right? Am I misremembering that?
Yeah, it was 6-6 at half.
Have you guys seen that meme? It's the nice looking guy comes in and points, and then the creepy looking guy says hello HR. It's that for the SEC versus the Big Ten. Same. This is like Iowa versus anyone, but it's Texas and Georgia, so great game. Watching JD Pickell at On3 say that he thought he just watched the national championship made me want to barf into my own hand, because like two great teams, two really good teams. That was not an enjoyable game. Carson Beck got injured. Like, what are you talking about? You thought this was like, you haven't witnessed Oregon play this year. You really think these are the undisputed two best teams and this is your national championship? Like, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with the SEC over the top. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread anymore.
This is the best defensive performance I've seen from any team. How about you, Moen?
Is it really a great defensive performance or just two terrible offensive performances?
I don't know.
Both these teams played like they did not want to win the game. And I'm telling you, Georgia is one of that bipolar rock and rollers, man. There's weeks where they will come out there and they will look flawless. And you'll say, this is the Georgia of old. Here we go. And then there's weeks they'll come out there and they just won't get it done. So in Texas, I'm sorry. I know Becky thinks they're the best team in America. Who have they beaten? Who has Texas beaten this year?
I think on paper, they're the best team in America.
Yes, they're a paper champion.
On paper, they're the best team. I think Oregon's the best performing team. But like Quinn Ewers still threw for 360 yards, but he only threw one touchdown. He had 2 picks. The big question coming out of this, what is Georgia going to look like? Because Carson Beck is done for the year. He has a UCL injury, is what it's being reported as. Which, if you know baseball, that's what they call Tommy John surgery. I don't think. I clearly don't think that's what they do for a quarterback. But in baseball, like that would mean Tommy John.
I mean, even if they throw him out there, there's no shot. Even if they were to make it to the national championship, that he'd be 100%. Like you know that he's not throwing downfield. So
he's done. Like it's a UCL injury. You can't play with that. Like you can't physically throw because your elbow doesn't do this anymore.
Real quick, our friend Skaven, yes, popping in. Hello, my friend. Great radio on Paul Feinbaum. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of hate listening, I think, going on. His numbers are going to be through the roof. I know I posted it. I thought it was quite enjoyable. The Tammy from Auburn pretending to be Timothy Chalamet. The Sardawar car can't hang with the Fremen speed, Paul. It was so good. I was eating that up. Quick shout out to our friend Stephen Vitt, Mr. Ohio Bobcats, and Timothy Chalamet was the only one to take the fight in Bobcats, and they won the MAC title. So congrats to you, my friend.
That's actually not true. I picked Ohio to win the MAC title.
Yeah, you don't count. You're a host.
I don't.
And you're living in Ohio, Moen.
Hashtag Moen doesn't count.
Look, Moen had his best week with the picks all year.
You got the insider info. Yeah, but just shout out to you. That's awesome. I know they were not favored in that game, and they put up like a dominating performance over Miami. Yeah. So, Moen, it was a no-lose scenario for you, 2 Ohio teams. Yeah. But yeah,
at least one of my Ohio teams made the championship game.
The state of Ohio can claim a championship.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Moving on, we mentioned Cam Scatabo absolutely running ham all over them Cyclones, but I will hold my hand up. And in a year where there are several teams that just outperformed every expectation, I think maybe Indiana, but Arizona State's got to be near the top of that list, if not the top, because almost everyone, me included, had them dead freaking last in the Big 12.
Well, they got a kicker.
They got a kicker and a running back that's just an absolute hammer. I mean, we can get into it with the CFP discussion, but do you guys think that they're just that hot team that's kind of destined to put up some strong performances, or is this no disrespect to the Big 12, but is this them kind of running roughshod over a very even playing field conference?
Listen, there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of parity in the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think that's what hurt them ultimately. They were the one who only got one of the Power 4 conferences, A4 conferences. They only got one bid in there, and right. It was because of the parity of the conference. That being said, I had a lot of fun watching this game. This was a fun game. I'm not if you're an Iowa State fan, obviously, but I haven't seen a lot of Cam Scatabo. It's just the Big 12 just does not get the same coverage that other schools do, even on highlight videos. So getting to see that kid play, Heisman finalist released today. He was not on the list. I think that after this game, they should have made an exception and put him on the list. But
I think it has more to do with the fact that Genty is on the list, that Cam Scatabo isn't. It's not that Cam Scatabo wouldn't be in other years, but you had one running back that just so far outstepped. Cam Scatabo is the running back that his stats might not pop necessarily in the totals, but you watch him play and you're just impressed every time he touches the ball. Two different styles of running back, I'd say, for sure.
I knew Iowa State's run defense was bad.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that bad. That was bad. It was bad. Like, Arizona State wanted 10 yards on the ground. They'll get 11. Like, you watch it, you're like, oh, they're going to get short yardage. It was like, okay, they're going to get an easy first down. Like, I don't think Arizona State can win the national title because they're going to load. They're going to load the crap out of that box. Teams are. I think what benefits Arizona State the most is they have that first round bye now, which I tweeted right after the beating came out. I was like, oh God, it's like 45-10. I was like, well, I said, I think they earned their first round bye.
They did.
There's no doubt about it. They were earning their first round bye.
I'm double checking now, but if I'm not mistaken, Arizona State has 1,000-yard receiver, so it's not like they're
no. It's not like they're totally reliant on him.
Yeah.
But this game, they really just
Yeah,
But
Jordan
that
Tyson
receiver is
runs.
injured. I don't know if he's going to be
Yeah.
back for the playoffs or not.
Yeah,
he was out for this championship game. He had 1,100 yards in the year. There's debate. I mean, they do get the bye, so in theory, if close, he could rest up and get that extra time.
I only have one question.
They're not totally one-dimensional.
I only have one question about Arizona State. It's not offensively. It's not defensively. It's can it come down to a kick? Because their kicker is not good.
Yeah.
I mean, they were holding tryouts during the season, which Kenny Dillingham was livid when he's like, "Yeah, we're holding tryouts." Like, go find the video. I can't remember what week he said it. That's the only thing that gets me. They are not going to be able to run the ball down like every team's like throat like this, but they're going to get, if worst case scenario, they're going to get Texas. Like, okay,
yeah.
Texas isn't the best at stopping the run either, so like it's going to play into your hand. Like the question for Arizona State is, like you guys said, can the other half of the offense throwing be as effective as it was in this game? Because it actually was really effective. People don't realize he was not like they threw touchdowns in this game, but Scatabo had the big runs, and it was I don't even know what to say about Iowa State because I felt like they never had the ball. Like every time I go to look, they're punting again, and I'm like, my thing that killed me, you're down 45 to like I said, like 45 to 10 or whatever. Don't kick a field goal. Don't kick a field goal.
Yeah, I didn't
understand why they did that. They made it, but I'm like, just go for the stupid touchdown, guys. Like, it can't get any worse. Like, it can, but it's probably not going to.
Unless you're like 4th and 10 or worse in your own end. Like, if you're punting, I get it. But like, if you're anywhere close to 4th and 5 and you're down that much, at least make the appearance that you're trying to get back into it.
Yeah.
So
like, try. What's the worst? Like I said, worst case scenario, they've got to go 65 yards for a touchdown. If your defense can't stop them, I know it's a problem, but Scatabo's not playing at that point. It's 45-10.
Yeah. But as we said, absolute congratulations to Arizona State, one of the shock teams of the year, absolutely, and one of 2 former Pac-12 teams to win their conference title, that one being all of the Big Ten Mafia hosts' favorite team to hate, except for Moen.
One of the 3 Pac-12 schools that won the title. Oregon State won the Pac-12 this year.
You don't you don't get to be a champion if you're under 500. I'm sorry.
But they won.
Permanent Pac-12 champions forever into eternity right here. No, it's you don't get to be a champion when you're under 500 and you can't even go to a bowl game. I'm sorry. That doesn't count for squat in my book. Oregon, I was unable to watch this game. I'm shocked at the total. I can't believe how many points were scored. Apparently, I mean, kind of watching the recap, Penn State was kind of out of it through the middle of the game, and then Oregon, I don't know if they just let up, but they're scoring 45. So, like, was this a James Franklin brain fart choke job, or was Oregon just that much better? What do you think, Mom?
No, it was a couple of there was an interception that set up a touchdown in the first half.
Okay.
I mean, that was like he threw it behind the receiver and right to the duck corner, and he took it down. Was that like in the 10-yard line, set up like 1st and goal or something like that, and then Allar had another interception later in the game. That's pretty much what the difference ended up being in this was those 2 picks. It was 31 to 24 at halftime. And then Oregon scored in the 3rd quarter. Penn State didn't. And then Penn State scored 2 touchdowns in the 4th. But in the end, they just could not stop. They just could not stop Dillon Gabriel. 4 touchdowns, almost 300 yards passing. The 2 turnovers just hurt. But I will say this: Penn State ran the ball all over Oregon. Like, they had big run after big run after big run, and Oregon just took advantage of their opportunities because they didn't get to keep the ball a whole lot. I think they had the longer drives, Moen. Like, would you say Penn State had the longer drives in this?
Yes. And And Kaytron Allen, the running back from Penn State, probably had his best game of the season.
Oh, yeah.
There were 2 interceptions, like you mentioned, from Drew Allar. There was also a missed field goal. They failed to convert a 2-point conversion. Oregon had the game in hand for most of the game, but don't think for a second that could have changed on a dime. Penn State could have got a turnover, got a quick score, and this could have been a very tight ball game.
Yeah.
I think Oregon is the most complete team in the playoffs, but the fact that Penn State ran over them that well, that should be a cause for concern because they're going to be facing some pretty good running backs.
By the way, there's a running back in the playoff that ran for 192 yards on that defense.
Yes, true.
So,
yeah,
like it may be like we watched Washington struggle. We watched, Ohio State ran on them. Teams have struggled against them, but some teams like Ohio State, Penn State now, and Boise State, state schools, all had success running the ball down their throat. So,
yeah,
at some point you have to question, like, what is Dan Lanning going to do to fix that? Because he is a defensive coordinator at heart. That's where his pedigree is. So they've got to figure out something and I think the month off is going to help because they're going to be healthy. But, teams who run the ball well, they're in this. Tennessee, Ohio State, they're the first 2 opponents. They'll face one of those 2. Guess what they both do? Run the ball well. Like the next round could be Texas or Arizona State. Guess what they do? Run the ball well. So,
yeah.
And if they make the final, guess what? It could be Boise State or Georgia who run the ball. Like it's a problem right now. I'm not concerned about it. I think Oregon's fine, but eventually they're going to come across a team that's going to just stop their offense. And
at a minimum, you're playing 3 games. Like there's no hiding behind only, getting 1 or 2 good games. Like Washington last year. I mean, they could not stop the run super well all year. Oregon was able to run with some success, even as as good as Washington was. And they finally got to Michigan, who was one of the best rushing teams in the country. And that weakness was exposed because you're only playing 2 playoff games. Now you're running a whole field. Even Oregon with the bye is playing 3 games minimum. So you're coming up against the best of the best. And I know there's pros and cons with the expanded playoff field, but I think it'll be almost impossible to dispute whoever comes out at the end of it is not deserving of being the national champion. And speaking of, the bracket was released. If I can add it correctly, there we go. Quick thoughts initially. Becky, did they get it right, and did they get the seeding correct? Go.
I think they got it right. I might have flip-flopped SMU and Clemson. I think just being a conference champion and having that win should be enough to like kind of elevate you there. Plus, it would have made for some very dynamic stuff down there in Texas. I think they got it right. I know people are like Indiana should be hosting, and I'm like, no, you got completely beat down by Ohio State. No offense, but didn't look good against them. And I'm a person that fully believes that if you lose, you got to kind of pay a price. They paid the price. Ohio State, Tennessee, I think you could flip a coin on 8-9. Doesn't matter. I think Ohio State probably should be traveling to Tennessee the way they looked against Michigan.
I mean, yeah, it's tough to say because Tennessee is Tennessee 2-loss also, correct?
Yeah, they're both 10-2.
Both 10-2. Both didn't play in their conference championship. Like that, I'm with you on that one. That's kind of a toss-up. Sorry, Moen, but that's a pretty, one way or the other argument on that one.
I agree with you, but Tennessee had one of their losses was to Alabama. The other loss was to Arkansas.
Right.
Yeah.
So
the Arkansas is the loss that that's the deciding factor because they're 6-6 and Michigan's 7-5. So that's what I said.
Ohio State's losses, although they've got a bad loss to Michigan, rivalry game.
They lost to Oregon.
So. Yeah, and they lost to number 1. So
they lost to number 1 by 1 point.
Yeah. They lost by a total of 4 points in their 2 losses. But
I do think the committee gives grace to rivalry games, true rivalry games in a sense.
I think they got it right. I think you'll hear people like Joel Klatt say that Oregon's getting punished. And I'm like, Oregon's not being punished. They're going to play 2 East Coast teams in the Rose Bowl. One of 2 teams. Like,
I'll let Moen give his opinion, but I got something to say to Mr. Cladd on that one.
But yeah, I think it's fine. Georgia's in the right spot. Boise's in the right spot. Arizona State gets to, unfortunately, Arizona State has to travel to Atlanta for the Peach Bowl, which that is what it is. Those are the bowls. So,
yeah.
Moen, what do you think?
I have no problems with the teams that got in.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the seeding.
Okay. Big problem or little problem?
I think Penn State should be number 5. I think Texas should be 6. Again, I just think Penn State's had they faced more ranked opponents. Yeah. And I think that should count. Notre Dame being ranked 7, I have an issue with that. They don't play for a conference championship. They play a softer schedule than anybody else in the country because they schedule a lot of G5 schools. Their loss was to a G5 school, Northern Illinois, at home.
Yeah.
And Northern Illinois finished up number 6 in the MAC conference. That's a bad loss.
I do think Notre Dame, by the virtue of not playing in a championship and with a bad loss, they should not be hosting. I think they deserve to be in the field, even with the Notre Dame tax. They get that boost. I think they're deserving of being in the field at 12, but I think they should have to go on the road. So
yeah, that's my only issue with it. I think the teams are right. I disagree with some of the seeding. Top 4 seeds, perfectly fine with.
Yeah. I can take the Notre Dame argument. That's perfectly reasonable. I mean, it's not wrong. Their non-conference slate is, Alabama fans have been complaining. That's, if you want to complain, that's the school to complain to because they're an independent and they don't schedule anybody. They get 6 games against the ACC. The best team they played was, I think, Florida State on paper before the start of the year, and Florida State was terrible.
Yeah. So, yeah, Shonsky, I'm kind of in agreement. Bye weeks really don't have a ton of advantages considering they start for 2 weeks, other than resting your guys and kind of getting healthy. But, you would still take the bye week given the circumstance.
I mean, Oregon, Georgia, Arizona State, and Boise State get a month off. Like, they're just going to – Ashton Jeanty has had over 300 carries.
Dude needs a breather.
He needs a breather.
He's been banged up a good portion of the year too.
Yeah, they're all banged up, and they can get healthier. Meanwhile, the other teams are going to play, 10 days before, 11 days before, or whatever, and they're going to then have to travel wherever. So.
Yeah. Channel subscriber Penn State played bad, to be honest, in the game against Oregon. I only watched the highlights.
They had some mistakes, Marcus. I'm not going to say. Drew Allar threw 2 interceptions, and they were bad picks. Special teams missed on the field goal. But they had the rushing game on point. Kaytron Allen, again, I think that was his best game of the season. He was getting large chunk runs off the Oregon defense. So I think their offensive line held up pretty well against the Oregon front 4.
Well, kind of touching on the same topic, Bob Swanger, Tom Allen's not a good DC, and he hated the hire. I mean, Penn State hasn't exactly played bad defense. I mean, you could argue in key moments they haven't got the stops when they've needed.
Well, here's the thing: their 2 losses are both the playoff teams, and both of them were by 1 score. So that's pretty good losses to have. As far as wins, they beat USC, they beat Illinois. There are a couple more that I think they have in there too. So
I mean,
they put a whooping on Washington, that's for sure.
That's the thing. Like, here's the other thing: Penn State was able to sack Dillon Gabriel. Do you know when the last time it was Dillon Gabriel got sacked?
A few games, wasn't it?
Long time. We're talking back to Ohio State, basically.
Many snaps.
Like Penn State.
Trouble, but.
Like I said, Penn State threw. There were no turnovers on Oregon's part. Penn State had 2. They lost by a possession. Well, Penn State's defense did not give up a touchdown on both of those interceptions, but they gave the other one was set up at the 4-yard line, guys. That's an easy thing for the number 1 team in the country to score. They scored in one play.
Yeah. Just quick 10 seconds or less. Of the bottom 8, Moen, you're not allowed to pick Ohio State, but of the bottom 8, who do you think has the best path / best chance to make it all the way? Becky, go for it.
Oh man,
it's tough. I've got. I'll save mine. I'll let you guys go. Moen, you're not allowed to pick Ohio State.
then I got to take SMU.
Okay. Wow. I'm surprised. You're picking them straight up over Penn State then?
Well,
see, it's tough. It's tough.
I don't think they're going to beat. I was going to say SMU as well. I don't think they're going to beat Penn State, but if they do beat Penn State, which that's officially a whiteout game, folks, they beat Penn State, then yeah, I think they have a good chance to beat Boise if they can. The big issue with Boise is can they stop the run, because they could not stop Clemson from running the football. So
yeah.
My only thing is Penn State, James Franklin has historically not been good in big games.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of so even this year with a really good team
been
he's
like
got.
2,300 days, 2,900 days or something like that since he beat a top 5 team.
Yeah. My one that I'm going to go with, originally I would have said Texas just because I'm not impressed by Clemson, and I think Arizona State, they're very good at what they do, but if you can stop it, they're kind of up a creek. I think them Indiana Hoosiers are going to beat Notre Dame and beat Georgia. That's my Pickles hot take of the week. Georgia's injury prone, and I don't think they can stop Indiana enough. And Indiana's defense is
I don't
good. Just
think you realize
enough.
Georgia doesn't have a ton of injuries. They have a quarterback injury. That's it.
I know, but that's
That's it.
not. They're
And
still
by the way,
talented,
that kid, if you watched it, you didn't watch it, Pickles. The kid was better than Beck. He was actually better.
But
he was actually a better quarterback.
I watched the majority of that Georgia Tech game, and I know they're Jekyll and Hyde. But if you can exploit Georgia, if they're not completely switched on, they're beatable.
Well, their pass defense is their problem, and that would play into Indiana's
Indiana pass is pretty good.
I just don't know if. See,
I'm calling Indiana to beat Notre Dame and Georgia right now.
The thing that kills me about Notre Dame, is we don't really know how good they actually are.
No, but I watched them lose to NIU. So
yeah, but we don't really know
fully
how good
healthy
they are.
Losing to NIU.
Yeah, but again, don't really know how good they are because they play a bunch of teams that don't throw the ball much, like Navy and Army. So
yeah. It might be my Big Ten colored glasses, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the vibes from the Hoosiers to be the undisputed king of Indiana.
I do think that they're gonna go in there hyped up like there's no tomorrow, because that game you don't want to lose to an in-state team.
No.
I know they're not rivals traditionally, Moen, right? They're not really rivals, right? Kind of.
You hear Notre Dame tell anybody inside the state of Indiana other than Notre Dame is a rival of theirs. So Purdue is a rival of Notre Dame. Indiana is a rival of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I knew Purdue was. I just didn't think Indiana was for some reason.
Yeah. But it is certainly an interesting field. I think they got the 12 right. Our friend Rockin' Rant even conceded that he thought it was fair that Miami was left out because they had a chance to win the game that would put them in, and they didn't get it done. So I think the field is correct. Alabama fans complaining about, we're just going to give up all our power non-conference games. It's like, well, you won all of those this year, and you lost your conference games, including 21-3 to an Oklahoma team that wouldn't have made a bowl game if they didn't beat you. So non-conference wasn't exactly your problem, Alabama. And I call it a wash for the help you got last year.
I'm just going to say it out loud. You want to complain about strength of record, strength of schedule? Stop scheduling Mercer.
Yeah.
Do you know how many Power 5, Power 4 teams you played? You played 9 total.
Like most people.
Like most people. Do you know how many SMU played?
I think 11, right? Or
11. 11.
10 or 11.
Because
Okay.
they play BYU as well.
BYU and TCU. Yeah.
Yeah, like they played everybody in front of them. They technically played better opponents, and you go, well, our strength of schedule, it's inflated because of your conference. But you know who you lost to? Because you didn't lose out of conference. Don't lose to 6-6 Vanderbilt. Don't lose to 6-6 Oklahoma. We'll give you the pass on Tennessee.
Yeah. The Oklahoma one was a couple weeks ago. Like, this isn't ancient history, but you ask them, it's like,
By the way, Big 12 fans, I'm going to say it. Like, I'm going to say it out loud. Don't lose to 5-7 Kansas, and you might have more than one team in the playoff.
Yeah, Steve Moser.
You can't lose those games.
SMU did play 10 because ACC plays 8, and then they played BYU TCU. So that is 10. Still 10 legitimate power opponents, in-state Power 5 rival, and then BYU, who had a great season. So
they
tough schedule.
Beat everybody in front of them other than BYU, which again, BYU is probably sitting in there if they don't lose to 5-7 Kansas.
Yeah,
Alabama's sitting in there if they don't lose to 6-6 Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns.
Oh, I knew there'd be one in chat at some point. Hello, Darth Ducky. Hello, my friend. How are you?
We haven't hated on him. What we said is your rush defense looked a little sus against Penn State. That might just be because Penn State's running back is crazy good too.
Yeah. But I digress. Ducky, you deserve the 1 seed. You know, we hate the Ducks as much as anyone, but I'll tip the cap when I think they deserve the spot, and I think they were undisputed deserving of the 1 seed. There was no question about it, especially after winning the title.
By the way, how crazy is it that for the first time since 1990, a broadcaster other than NBC is going to show a game inside Notre Dame Stadium?
Seems very bizarre, but we live in a new world. Mo, and let's just hope that one of the next Notre Dame games in the upcoming years will be the Big Ten Network coming to you from Notre Dame.
By the way, the Notre Dame Indiana game has the highest ticket prices of any of the first round playoff games.
Like over $1,000 in the door price, right?
Over 1,300 last time I checked.
What's Ohio State sitting at? Because I would think that's going to be a hot met.
Last time I checked, it was for some of the upper deck seats were like 344, 345.
Yeah.
I'd be curious what Texas will probably like go up as we get closer, but
you got to figure though, physical distance, you're going to have a lot of away fans that can literally drive to Notre Dame. So that I think that's obviously a huge factor.
Yeah. Same thing for Tennessee fans. They could drive to Columbus. It's not, it's not that far. It's far, but it's not that far.
Very true. But mini Joel Klatt rant. He was saying Oregon got screwed over by being the 1 seed and like almost pseudo implied that they'd have been better off losing. And I've seen people make this argument before. That is so dumb. And if you want to blame anyone, blame the major bowls who threw their hands up in the air and screamed until they were included in the CFP. The reason why you don't get a reseed is because you made the second round all of the New Year's 6 games. If you hosted home site rounds 1 and 2, you could reseed them. So I find it ridiculous. The Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, Sugar Bowl, whatever, wanted to be included in the playoff round 2, but you can't reseed them because that risks having half-empty stadiums because you don't know until week of where your team's going to play. If you hosted them home site, you're going to have a crowd at every game. So blame yourselves. I don't feel bad for you. This isn't a shot at Oregon. This is just a shot at the way they did the playoffs and the fact they don't reseed them. And this team has a tough path. It's like, you want to stop complaining about it, just expand the field, go to 16 like you're supposed to, and just call it a day.
Also, if you're the best team in the country, you don't really give a crap who's on the field against you.
It's ridiculous. I thought him trying to make that point and actually back it up was just so foolish. Steve Moser can have bracket pick'em context if you reseed. I mean, you can. There's just going to be a lot less winners, that's for sure, if any. Dart Ducky, make the Rose Bowl the championship, get rid of the other bowls. Yeah, yes. I mean, to Big Ten / Pac-12 fans, we're always going to feel pretty strongly about it, but all of the bowls put a bunch of money up to be included in this deal. So
also,
it is what it is.
I don't know what Atlanta, like the Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta's paying for the national title game, but
I'm sure it's a pretty penny.
Got to be a lot. But I mean, I like the fact that it's going to rotate every year. It's just smart to do that.
Yeah.
But
also,
I think after the Rose Bowl remodeled, though, come on.
The fact that Arizona State isn't playing the Fiesta Bowl and Georgia isn't playing the Peach Bowl is so dumb to me. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
The Fiesta Bowl, because Boise's closer to the Fiesta Bowl, they're the 3 seed. So technically, they get their pick.
So what's Georgia's excuse? They picked the Sugar Bowl.
The Sugar Bowl is where the SEC champion always plays. That's
dumb.
Their bowl.
I'm sorry. I don't care. It's
their
dumb.
version of the Rose Bowl, guys.
It's just dumb. Like, it's like when Washington had to travel further than Michigan did because Michigan wanted.
I mean, it could be worse. Arizona State could be having to play, Clemson or Miami down in could you imagine having to play Miami in the Orange Bowl? You're the 4 seed.
I'm sure we'll live to see crazier.
That's going to happen one day.
Things pass. Yep. But moving on to non-CFP related events, the Big Ten Bowl slate was released, and I gotta say, looking up top to bottom, obviously we're going to be looking at the Washington game, but that's a good set of bowl games, good set of opponents, and I think all are worthy of your viewership. What do you guys think? Are there any that stand out to you other than the obvious national champion Rose Bowl CFP rematch?
Illinois, South Carolina.
There you go. Let's go. The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. They need to switch the sponsors.
In South Carolina, the line opening on it is South Carolina 10.5 points.
Oh, where's the line I had when you need them? Smash that all day, my friend. I don't know if Illinois is going to win. South Carolina is legitimately a good team, but 7.5? That's
10.5.
10.5. Oh my gosh, that's even worse. Illinois all day. I take Illinois and run to the bank because I think they got a good shot to win that thing outright. Becky, which one stands out to you?
Las Vegas Bowl.
Ooh, okay.
A&M is really good. They are better. I think they only had 2 or 3 losses themselves, and they didn't get the benefit of anything that the other SEC schools got. By the way, they weren't eliminated from playing in the SEC title game until they lost to Texas.
They looked bad. They looked bad and lost to Texas.
They did. But my big thing is USC they're kind of like they might be really, really good. They just keep losing by a score here and there. But I think it's the most interesting for me just because Lincoln Riley cannot beat SEC opponents in bowl games. So this is like he beat LSU to start the year.
He beat LSU. Yeah. Not a bowl game, but
can SC go 2-0 against the SEC this year? That's the question.
Sam Kim does not share our enthusiasm. I don't know if you're an Illinois fan, and that's why it's the only one that's interesting, but does not share our enthusiasm for these other bowl games, it seems. Well, I don't know. I think they're all going
to be fun.
Those are all solid opponents. I mean, no disrespect to Boston College, but that's maybe the one that I skip.
I don't know if Virginia Tech's going to score.
Yeah,
VT. Gonna score.
I will pay money to watch PJ Fleck dunked in a mayo tank. I want to see that on live television. That's the why I watch that game.
I just like to watch the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It's my favorite. Mostly because I want to see the mascot get killed.
Darth Ducky, Bad Boy Mowers, Tony the Tiger. Are these real? Yeah, I mean, sponsorship isn't as elegant as it used to be.
Well, the Sun Bowl is like the second oldest or oldest. It's one of the top
1930s. It's older than
old.
I think it's older than what is it? The Orange Bowl is from the 50s.
I think it's as old. It's actually as old as I want to say it's almost as old as the Rose.
But, the Sun Bowl is a historic bowl that has lost status as like a major bowl at the end of the year. But I mean, I get it for like non-Washington fans. That might not be the sexiest matchup or location, but like Louisville's a good team. They had a great season.
This is a good team. Like we weren't gonna say we were gonna make the playoff. It was 50 new players. We only have 85 rosters. 50 new players.
Yeah.
Like what? Like this is what they're 6-6. They struggled all year on the road. a bowl game is a neutral site, but it's in Texas. It's a good chance to kind of like get off that schneid. Those guys they're motivated to get better. And also, this is more practices for all of your players. That's all the coaches give a crap about are those extra reps.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll do previews of the games as we get closer to the actual weeks leading up to each set of games, but I'm feeling like the Big Ten could get 5 wins out of this. I'm feeling good about it.
We've got to see who opts out before I even get to that point.
Very opts out. Daniel Gygax hammer the under on the music set. Man, you see that Iowa logo and you just want to instinctively hammer the under. I get it, but don't be fooled. Do not be fooled. Sam Kim again coming in. Bowl system is over. Playoffs will expand and bowl system relation. I disagree. There's too much money to be made. Even these lesser bowls you think don't make anything still generate money.
There's 133, 134 teams in FBS football. There's like space for like 78 total teams.
Yeah.
So all that eventually they'll just start allowing more teams because there are some teams that, there's not enough bowls. So some years there's not enough bowls. So there's always going to be space.
Well, and with the expanded playoff, I mean, all your New Year's Six bowls are sucked up by teams moving up a playoff ladder. So that's less teams total in those New Year's Six. And
that's what I said. Like there's 78 bowl eligible teams this year.
Yeah.
Like, so at some point you have to ask if the playoff gets expanded and more bowls become those, games, they'll just let 5 and 7 teams fill the void. And those teams will be happy to do it.
Gotcha. Mo, and you got anything on the bowl games coming up? Obviously, we'll dive into them as we get closer.
Yeah, I think that's SC Texas A&M Bowl. I think that one's going to be interesting, the Las Vegas Bowl. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, like you guys said, with opt-outs, it's hard for me to care about bowl season anymore.
Yeah.
Really Illini Ted's. Yeah, that Rose Bowl rematch, Illini Ted. We've already seen the Alabama opt-outs. I did want to mention this. We can get to it right after a super chat from our good friend Tony Lashin. Is Wisconsin playing in the Moldy Cheese Bowl? Man, you got to take it easy on Wisconsin. I know you won't, but you should. I like them. I like our
Stop. We don't root for them. No.
I like our W brothers up in there. I have friends from Wisconsin is why. I have friends from military days that are from there.
Tony, my grandfather graduated from Minnesota.
Okay.
I get the hate.
Okay. Well, we can agree to disagree.
But they are in the Moldy Cheese Bowl. The left out.
They are in the Moldy Cheese Bowl. They're searching for a quarterback, and Wisconsin's got some work to do. I'll put it that way in the offseason. Husky fans have to watch Sicario before going to the Sun Bowl. Oh, Lord. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people financially were tapped out due to national championship travel last year. So I think it may be, unfortunately, a poorly attended bowl. It is what it is, guys. Times are tough. And
we're Husky fans. We're Husky fans, and it's always been Rose Bowl or bust.
Yeah.
It's now playoff or bust. I don't see a lot of people going down there, mostly because we're not going to go there, but it's in the state of Texas. So a lot of people just aren't going to go.
Yeah. Shout out to Kalen DeBoer for making sure that both Washington and Alabama didn't make it to the playoffs. So
I was hoping we'd play Alabama. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I was hoping Bama would squeak in and Lanning would have to play Kalen one more time. That's a no lose for me as a Husky fan with that game.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
Shoot, it's slipping top of my mind what we had. I had something going into it, but anything else I'm missing going out for the week, or get into some questions and comments? We got a little extra time here. Joaquin Morales, any talk of fish sticks bringing Fafita to UW? I would say no. DeMond Williams is going to start in the bowl game, and Fafita's talented. I think someone else could scoop him up and have a good player for a couple of seasons. What do you think, Becky?
There's a little talk about it.
Little talk, yeah, but you're not going to bring him in to sit him on the bench.
Yeah.
Sophomore, plus we got a high-rated quarterback.
I will say this. I will say this. If you're a D lineman, a linebacker, or an offensive lineman, yeah, Washington's probably about to set a market for linemen because we need them. We need bodies. Washington already picked up a commitment today from an Oklahoma lineman who used to play at Washington.
Yeah, that's more like a coming back home.
Of course,
thing,
his little brother
is on the Huskies, and he's played at Washington before.
No, but like I said, they're already, and they're going to be in the market for linemen, and that's why I said they're going to set a little bit of a market. I will say this, I do think there's going to be some Arizona kids coming, so
our friend Tony Lashman reminded me in chat, it is of course officially Army Navy week. It is one of my favorite weeks because no matter how good or bad Army and Navy are, this game is always awesome. A lot of pomp and circumstance. If you're a veteran, it's a lot of fun for you. Go Navy, beat Army. Isn't that right, Becky?
Always.
And Army's really good. Yeah. Quick shout out to, the G5 level guys. I'm trying to pull up the full bowl slate graphic so we can look at it. But the G5 champs that didn't make the playoffs. So Marshall's playing Army, 2 of the champions. And then Ohio is playing Jacksonville State, I believe.
That's correct.
So it's like they need those winners to play in like the mini G5 playoff.
I'm more or less curious if Jacksonville State who will be the head coach when Jacksonville State.
That's right. Ohio lost their head coach, and I'm hearing rumors that Jacksonville State might be losing their head coach.
Yeah, Rich Rod might be heading back to West Virginia. So,
apologies, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties trying to find.
I will say this though, for the folks saying El Paso is closer. El Paso is, I think, closer to Los Angeles than it is, or Phoenix or something like that than it is Houston. But I will also say, have you ever been to El Paso? I wouldn't go to El Paso.
Yeah. Out in the West Texas town of El Paso. Yeah.
I've never been nowhere, guys. No.
So there, for your viewing pleasure, it's not super organized, but it's the one I had all of the bowl games. And I challenged Becky and Moen before the show to pick one very intriguing non-Big Ten, non-college football playoff bowl they're interested in. Becky, I'll let you have first crack.
Oh yeah. This is easy for me. It's Texas Tech and Arkansas. That is an old Southwest Conference.
Good call. Game. That's a great one.
The two schools don't really care for each other. Arkansas's head coach kind of gets to keep his job, is what I heard, because he made a bowl game. But if they got embarrassed or something like that by Texas Tech, it could get a little dicey for him there in Fayetteville. So I don't know. It just feels like it's two contrasting styles. It feels like it's going to be a little bit of a slug out. And also both conferences have talked trash about being better against the other all year. So
yep.
It's going to be fun.
All right, Moen, which one catches your eye?
Well, I'm going to omit Ohio versus Jacksonville State.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
I will say BYU Colorado.
There you go. A conference
according to Coach Prime, they are not going to have any opt-outs.
Oh boy!
I'll bet money on that.
They might. I mean, they might have the Heisman Trophy winner. He's gonna pull a RG3 and play in that game, huh?
Yeah, we'll touch on that right before we end the show. But the whole Genty versus Hunter thing, it's maddening. But I mean, I find it almost impossible. He's already got dudes in the portal. I will say, Jed Fish, this hasn't made a lot of news. I haven't seen any other coaches doing this. He has established, at least for Washington, he's totally cool with guys coming in, entering the portal, and they're allowed to play in the bowl game. However, as soon as they start taking calls and visits to other schools, you are not going to play in the bowl game anymore. So I actually think that's a good evolution. You're splitting the difference. You're keeping a good relationship and saying, hey, you've worked with these guys all year. You're part of this team, and we respect your decision to, do what you need to do going forward. But stay with us, stay engaged, and help the Huskies prep to win. Don't have your mind elsewhere. I actually think that's a really smart way to go about it.
I think there's a couple of other coaches that have come out and said the same thing, and I think it's great. Jed's doing the right thing by saying if you're doing visits and that, you can't play, but that's more or less looking out for the kid so the kid doesn't get hurt. You know, like think about like Oklahoma playing Navy. Like back in the day when, you know, they would run that chop block, you know, those cut blocks on the D lineman and that to open holes, you know, like you wouldn't want that kid playing in that game and possibly losing an entire year just because, hey, they're showing a little loyalty still. And so, by the way, I didn't realize it, but the Military Bowl is an in-state. That's an in-state rivalry. That is East Carolina versus North Carolina State. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize they were playing each other. I want to change my pick.
There's a couple of those in here, though.
Yeah, sorry to kind of get off track, Moen, because we got the NIL coming up. But what specifically, I mean, it's a pseudo-conference matchup, and I don't believe they played this year, but BYU Colorado is a mountain showdown.
Yeah, it is. And I think Prime has said nobody's going to opt out. Again, we'll have to see if that's the case. But these were two teams that were competing for the Big 12 championship just a couple weeks ago. I think that this is a good settled debate thing. We can see who the true number 3 in the Big 12 is.
Yeah. Also, you know, if BYU doesn't have any opt-outs, they have no opt-outs, so they go full strength. It's going to be fun. I don't know. The two fan bases already don't like each other because they all hate Colorado for no reason. But
I will throw. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I think it'll be exciting if he's right. I mean, I imagine Sanders and Hunter will play. They're trying to put NFL film together more than anything. Coming from Rick Tungate, $5. Greg has just finished his show. I mean, we all bow to the king of college football media, the fighting Flugars over there. So we appreciate anyone stopping by after joining him. Just talking a little bit of bowl game slate before we move on down. Glenn Hannon, NIL killed bowl games. I get it. I get it with the opt-outs. I mean, I've seen different proposals where they think it should be like a freshman showcase or that they should be played the start of the next year based on how you finish the previous season. I don't know. I think we're all kind of in agreement that it's going to need a major overhaul sooner before later.
They were already opting out before NIL. If you want to say anything killed it, it would be the contracts that these kids are getting, from the NFL. The NFL killed it. And I'll even say this part out loud. The delusional dreams of some of these players who do opt out and don't get drafted. And it's like, you probably played in the game. So but I get it,
I have to assume this is not the David Portnoy. If it is, got some choice words for you offline. Anyway, Ohio State has already won next year's national championship too. Indeed, they have.
He would be a Michigan
Congrats,
fan.
Moen. So. Would be a Michigan man. Hoss Out Life and Wildlife. How can a Heisman winner not be in the college football play? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just
saying, I don't know how a Heisman Trophy winner, which
the winner MVP, last year wasn't, so
couldn't elevate his team to make a conference title game, let alone forget the playoff.
Yeah,
you got to at least elevate your team to the next tier. He didn't do that either.
If you were watching,
I'm not saying that Hunter's not a good winner.
Oh, he's an outstanding.
He's an outstanding player. The problem I have is if I took Ashton Genty Moen off Boise State, does Boise State make the playoff?
No,
not a chance. I don't know if they win 6 games. That's how good he is.
Someone bringing up Mike Trout winning MVPs on 70-win Anaheim teams. College football is not baseball, and I'm very thankful about that.
Yeah, well, A-Rod won 1-2 on a last-place team, but,
By the way, Pickles, did you know your son and David Portnoy have something in common?
What's that?
Both the same height. A
striking 3'10". Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my son's pretty tall for his age. He's going to be taller than I am. I'm a little dwarf man at like 5'9". So it is what it is. But I think this is an interesting set of bowl games. The one that caught my eye after we've talked about it all year, the non-Big Ten matchup, you guys kind of definitely highlighted my other picks with like Texas Tech, Arkansas. who would have known before the year this would be interesting? Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. I plan to watch every snap of that one because I think it'll actually be a great game. I expect Tech to be favored, but who would have thought?
Hey, I hear overtime. I hear overtime is a math test.
Yeah, so. Let's go. It's like it just turns into mathletes at center field. It'd be great.
All right. Nerd on nerd violence.
I love it. But yeah, I think a good set of bowl games all around. And I mean, it feels like, at least to me, the last few seasons, it's been kind of chalk as far as which teams and which conferences were making bowl games, etc. So to see a lot of new faces mixing it up is, I think, really, really cool. You see Cal in there playing UNLV. You see West Virginia, Memphis, like some cool matchups that I think we don't get very often or wouldn't get otherwise. To me, that's what makes bowl season exciting, despite the fact we have a CFP now.
I don't even think Washington has ever played.
I find it highly unlikely. I doubt we've ever played in the non-conference.
I'm looking because I don't think we've ever actually played Louisville.
Yeah, unique matchups are always a cool thing.
So that's like the best part. Like we've never played Florida State. Washington's never played Florida State. Yeah, no previous matchups. Louisville and Washington have never played, but you get in a bowl game.
Yeah,
that's fun. Like this is the whole point of bowl season. Like I want to see my team play new teams.
Yeah,
I would love to say we played we've never played Clemson, we've never played Florida State, we've never played Georgia. I would love to see these games.
Real quick, running through chat. Taytown Hawk, bowl should offer NILs to do 5 to 10K incentives. There has been discussions that quite a lot of NIL contracts probably include a bowl escalator, where it's more like a bonus. Like if you're opting out for the NFL, maybe you turn it down. I know there was a discussion about players buying injury insurance. I think, Moen, were you talking about with Rock?
Yeah, like Lloyd's of London. They do have one-game insurance policies. It's usually like $150,000 to $250,000, and a guarantee up to like $10 million.
Yeah.
If you happen to get injured, and it happens to affect your draft stock on where you were projected to go before the bowl game versus where you might actually fall due to an injury.
I mean, we've seen guys that were projected first rounders drop to the 3rd or 4th because it was a severe injury. So
sure.
It's not unreasonable.
There's Marcus Lattimore comes to mind.
Yeah.
He was a first-round pick until he had that knee injury.
Shonsky saying opt-outs are a cowardly way of saying that's why you lost game teams with a healthy culture. I mean, it's different. I think it's different. You're in the transfer era. You're in, NIL era. And you're in the era where, like we just said, with injuries, your draft stock takes a huge hit. Like I'm not going to shame someone for protecting their financial future. I do wish, everyone wants the guys on their team to be invested in the school, but let's be real. For a lot of guys, especially your high-end talent, this is a business decision, and it's, it is what it is.
Yeah, we'll get a lot less opt-outs now that there's 12 teams in the playoffs, but listen, if you're not in the college football playoffs, I'm not going to begrudge a kid choosing to sit out and not risk potentially millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, life-changing money for them. So
yeah, there's the best guy in the draft is on Western Kentucky. He's playing.
And the other thing I would bring up is I think we need to move the transfer portal till after the bowl season.
Yeah,
I think that definitely needs to happen. That needs something that all conferences need to sit down and agree on.
Yeah, you think just close it until championship ends, day or two later, boom, it's open.
Then transfer portal open.
I mean, I get why they're doing it. It's because of finals, and then they have to be able to transfer to the next school. Get it.
There's logistical reasons.
But I think like Moen said, the schools can come up with a plan to
right. You could give them a grace period.
They can give them a little bit of
30 days. I mean, that's not
get a workaround. There's a lot of debate because some schools are on semesters or trimesters.
Yeah, that's the issue. It's like quarter semesters, trimesters. That's why they're doing it right now. So the schools are all on different schedules.
No one's going to be free until the nerd persecution ends. Hey, we love our nerds. They run the world. I'm a Washington fan. I was never smart enough to go to Washington. Come on now.
I'm a nerd. That's how it works. Come on.
Nerds help build all the stuff we use. We're very appreciative. Illini said Illinois has never played the Gamecocks. I love it. See, that's great.
See?
You've never played them before. No hatred. Like, you get Big Ten versus SEC, but you get to interact with a fan base you otherwise wouldn't really have talked to. That's what bowl season's cool. Like, as a kid, I always loved playing teams that, like, oh, Washington's going to play, I don't know, Baylor. They played Baylor in an Alamo Bowl years ago against RG3. They got whooped, but it was fun.
I was there. I was there. They get whooped. That was a track meet.
Oh, yeah.
First one to 70 wins.
Like 50-47 or something ridiculous.
It was like 60-something to 50-something. Yeah,
but
ridiculous.
Yeah. Speaking of Heismans who didn't make the BCS / college football playoff, RG3 at Baylor. Yeah. Might as well make some of them wear flags in the bowl games to simulate. I mean, that's where it's just like, I would rather they opt out and just not play if that's kind of where their headspace is at. Let the freshmen play, get a kickstart on next year. Like, reward the guys that want to put the effort in. I'm not going to hate on kids anymore if they're.
By the way, I saw this nugget today. Since the beginning of the BCS, only 2 times has a Heisman Trophy winner not played in either the playoff or BCS bowl game.
Yeah.
So 2 times. Tim Tebow in 2007, RG3 in 2011.
Yeah, I mean, statistically speaking, if your team wins, you're going to have a good shot at having a Heisman contender. And speak of the devil, I'm going to say it. Dillon Gabriel is a great player. I don't think he is one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the country. And I know that is a controversial opinion. However, he is a Heisman finalist. You will never hear me denying that he is a Heisman finalist. But these are the official list. I know some people saying Cam Scatabo got snubbed after that hammering we saw him put down in the Big 12 championship. But Dillon Gabriel of Oregon, Travis Hunter of Colorado, Ashton Jeanty from Boise, and Cam Ward of Miami. I think these were kind of the 4 heavy favorites if you had to pick 4. Any snubs or anyone you don't think should be on there, or are we all kind of in agreement?
This is a 2-man race. I mean,
yeah.
Dillon Gabriel and Cam Ward are just getting a nice trip to New York. They do not have a shot of winning this. Yeah. It's going to either be Ashton Jeanty or Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why they even invited 4 people. For me, it's I think Cam Ward, if they made, I think if Miami had made the playoff, I think Cam Ward wins it. Cam Ward was the best quarterback in the country for his team. Again, you have to ask, would Oregon be undefeated without Dillon Gabriel?
I mean, no offense, Mo, and you're going to throw tomatoes at me, but they invited Gabriel and Ward for the same reason Marvin Harrison got invited last year. You're not going to win it, but you were an outstanding player and the best of your position.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. You were worthy of recognition. I think that's still true.
But at the end of the day, the Heisman Trophy is awarded to the best player in America, not the best quarterback.
The most outstanding is the
most outstanding player.
Yes. That's why
and there's been a lot of them that have missed. Orlando Pace, for example, never won a Heisman Trophy. Probably the best lineman to come out of college football in the last 25 years. So, I mean, it has become more of a quarterback award recently.
It has.
But it's nice to see that the 2 guys playing for it are a wide receiver / defensive back and a true running back.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks and receivers / running backs, you just get more touches on the ball per game than like a defensive guy. Your impact is more obvious.
I just want to say Ashton Jeanty did not play 2 whole games. He did not play a snap of 2 whole games.
Yeah,
like that's how much he sat out. 2 whole games, 8 full quarters he sat out.
Oh, you're talking about 4 quarters.
Like not taking a snap. Yeah, 8 full quarters he didn't take a snap. Now there's other games where he took 1 or 2 snaps and sat out. He probably has sat out about 4 games. Yeah. And all that, none of that matters, but because suddenly snaps matter. Again, I don't think Travis Hunter isn't a great player. I don't think Travis Hunter is the most outstanding player. I think Ashton Jeanty is 29 touchdowns, almost 3,000 yards rushing. And just to put this out there, he only did it against bad teams. He ran for 192 yards and a couple of scores against the University of Oregon in Oregon at night. And the only reason, and his team lost by 3 points. The only reason why his team does not win that game is because their special teams aren't athletic enough to tackle Oregon's special teams.
Yeah,
so,
they were wonky plays away from winning that game, largely on the back of Ashton.
That's why I'm like, I hear this and I see this. I think, like I said, Colorado had a great year, complete turnaround from a year ago when they were really, really bad in the Pac-12. We knew that. Like, Shedeur Sanders is a great quarterback. He's going to be a first-round pick. Dillon Gabriel's great quarterback. Probably not a first-round pick because he's 5'9". Cam Ward's probably going to be a first-round pick.
Yep.
Ashton Jeanty may not be a first-round pick only because of his position.
I think he'll be the number 1 running back off the board, though.
No, he will. It's just it's just running backs don't get taken in the first round of the draft anymore for whatever reason. But he's a beast, guys. Like, and anybody goes, oh well, he's a G5, G6, whatever. Ty Detmer was at BYU, and I believe he won a Heisman Trophy. So you can do it. Like, and even the University of Houston has a Heisman winner.
Yeah,
can do it.
Real quick, Moen, congrats to your Indiana Hoosiers for making the playoff.
Thank you so much, Faith. Good to see you here
for the audience.
You're new here, so thank you for that. Feel free to go ahead and subscribe to us, and I will let you know I'm an Ohio State fan, an Ohio State alumni. But this is a Big Ten channel, and on this blessed day and every blessed day up until the playoff game, everybody here is Indiana fans. Go Indiana Hoosiers, become Windiana, beat Notre Dame.
I was going to say, Moen will wear 17 hats. He will not
That's
wear
correct.
Well, I don't know. You did concede you wore the Oregon hat begrudgingly, but you did.
No, I said 17 hats though. But he's not
wearing
the maize and blue.
I say the list is closer to 16 than 17, but Oregon has had a good enough season that even Moen will wear the hat. There's a certain maize and blue that Moen will not wear. Illini Ted's kind of getting back to bowl games. Don't want them turning into the old Pro Bowl because players are forced out. I mean, that's why you throw the kids in. Those dudes are fighting for snaps the next year. So I think there's always going to be a place for bowl games. It might just look different in the future.
Bowl games are great. Like, people are already talking about an NIT playoff. The kids are going to opt out of that too, guys. Like, bowl games they start offering the kids money to come, which they can totally do. And they can now do the grab bags and stuff they used to do. So kids used to go to the bowl games and get free swag, like PlayStations and cars and all sorts of crazy stuff. They still get that stuff. They used to only be able to do it up to like a certain dollar amount. There's no dollar amount anymore. They can just do it. So kids just have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah. Real quick, as we're wrapping up here, we appreciate everyone stopping by. We do the Big Ten Mafia show every Monday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, and part of the College Football Mafia channel. We also have the Big 12 Mafia coming at you on Tuesdays with Wild Ute, a Utah Ute fan, Nathan Bomber Brown, the maestro of College Football Mafia, who's a BYU Cougar, and a newer addition, friend of the show, Daniel Gygax, who's one of them fighting Mountaineers of West Virginia. They're breaking it down Big 12 style, but all of our shows, we cover everything in college football. So if you want the big dose of everything, our Big Freaking Friday show coming at you on Fridays. And if you want some, I won't say 21 plus, but let's go like 16 plus, 18 plus parental warning content on Sunday nights. Mr. Moen down there at the bottom gives you the unfiltered feelings about the weekend with our friend Rock and Rant on Moen After Dark on Sunday nights.
I'm fighting every urge to not have my own Moen Rant about teams and their scheduled power conference opponents anymore.
We need like therapy session with Moen where we all just scream into the void about our grievances. We can have we'll do a College Football Mafia Festivus and the airing of grievances.
There we go. That's a good idea.
That's our style. But we appreciate everyone being here. We had some people rolling in from Flugar. Final call, quick then. Who wins the Heisman? Becky, we'll go with you first. Who wins the Heisman, and who do you think deserves it? Who would you pick?
Deserves it? I would vote for Jeanty. Who's going to win it? Hunter. Travis Hunter.
Moen?
Deserves it and is going to win it, Travis Hunter.
Okay. I believe Ashton Jeanty is the most outstanding player in college football. I believe Travis Hunter is the most talented and best player, and that's why he will get drafted possibly as high as 1 overall. I believe Ashton Jeanty is the most outstanding and deserves the Heisman. I agree with Becky that Travis Hunter will probably win. So you can call us a little bit of West Coast bias, wearing the, our Mountain West friends and shilling for them a little bit, but that dude is a strong bowl performance away, or strong playoff performance away from being like top 3 all time in rushing in a season. It's wild.
I watched him in person last year against the Washington Huskies. And a day they got blown out, and he still stood out like a sore thumb. By the way, when they played Oregon, do you know who the best player was on the field? Ashton Jeanty. Ask an Oregon fan. The best player on the field. They played Oregon. The best player on the field was Ashton Jeanty. So, he's good, guys. He's just not going to win because the name on the chest is Boise State, and doesn't say something like, I'm not even going to use a top team. It doesn't say something like, Wake Forest.
My final word on that: Travis Hunter is a very good player at 2 positions, and Ashton Jeanty is the best player at his position in several years. So that's why I feel the way I do. Last one coming through, Chad. If you have final comments, questions, concerns, fears, or doubts, throw them in there. We're going to try and get to them before we wrap this thing up. Illini Ted, not a shock, but Illini are trying to pay $20.5 million for athletes. Is that the max, or has that not been released? Mo, and you can probably speak to Ohio State because they're going to be up there with the big spenders. What do you think?
Well, I think he's talking about what the Congress, or what the lawsuit.
Oh, the payout split.
The House.
The House.
That's
that's every sport. That's not just football. That's all sports combined.
Yeah. I see. I misunderstood.
But I think every school in the Big Ten is going to pay that upwards of 20.
Yeah.
20.
There will be an agreement to all pay the same, I'm sure. Even your private schools. Manny Diaz spoiled me speaking about Penn State and defensive coordinators and not having a lot of faith in their current DC. If they lose to SMU, they might be looking for a new one in short term.
Did you see how good Duke's defense was this year under him?
Yeah,
they were really
much
good.
Improved.
Yes,
they gave Northwestern a run for their money,
pushing
it to overtime.
I think if Riley Leonard had stayed at Duke during the playoffs, that
might be with how soft the ACC was this year. But I will say this, Bob Swanger, at least you guys held on to Andy Kotelnicki, who has revolutionized that offense. You finally got an offensive coordinator, and you were able to hold on to him. So, got to take some peace in that.
Kept him from A&M.
Argraw and James Franklin beats the teams he's supposed to. Penn State favored in the first 2 games. I mean, it's a crapshoot. I mean, a team will be favored, but don't think that you're going to walk into a playoff field and just beat a team because you're supposed to beat them. I think even Boise could defeat SMU or Penn State if they're not on their A game. You're in a field of very good, very deserving teams. There are no easy paths to that championship.
We see it all the time in basketball. Every year in basketball, there's an upset. I think every year we're going to see one in college football.
Or Wisconsin favored in their bowl game. Tony,
all right,
you got to take it easy. Well, who started that one? That wasn't me. You already put a super chat in. We got to take it easy on Wisconsin. I know that they did not make a bowl game, but they got good things coming, and I'm happy. Washington's going to Camp Randall next year. I have half a mind to make that trip. That's on my short list. So we'll take it easy on the Badgers for now. Daniel Gygax, Notre Dame is scheduled lightly past 10 years. NBC still cutting a huge check. Yep. I mean,
that's true, but that check is contingent on some things. It is not a guaranteed sum of money. So
there's always fine print to those kinds of things.
They have to schedule certain opponents. They have to have opponents scheduled. They can't just schedule Navy, Army, Kennesaw States of the world. No, they have to actually schedule a non-ACC opponent or 2. I think is what it was. So it's a pretty intense contract for them. Also, if nobody wants to play them anymore,
there's a lot of. I could see the Big Ten putting an embargo on it as much as USC might complain.
From what I hear, the SEC is not going to schedule anybody anymore because they don't like to be left out of a playoff spot because their strength of schedule didn't matter.
Good
I'm
Lord.
sorry, your strength of schedule didn't matter, but you still went 4-0 in your non-conference. Fix that problem.
Yeah, SEC friends out there. Yeah, SEC friends out there that watch the show. We know there are a few of you. We're not hating on you because you're from the SEC, but some of your people do a little bit more talking and not enough thinking before they say stuff. That applies to any conference, but you didn't get your way this time. Bama got left out. They got a boost last year, and they didn't make it this year. So I think it all comes out in the wash. You still got 3 teams in the playoff field. So no excuses to not have a champion if you're in the best conference.
Really, really good teams in the playoff field. Like, they're really good teams. Like, by the way, like I said, they're not the only school that have said this. I've seen it from Big 12 fans saying the same thing. It's like, stop, guys. Like, it didn't affect the Big 10 at all. It didn't affect the ACC at all. Like, it only affected 2 conferences, and they're complaining because an extra school didn't get in. I'm sorry. If you want to look at what happened, here, I'll tell you what happened. Clemson stole a playoff bid, and Notre Dame steals a playoff bid because they'll always be in the top 12. Notre Dame, I guarantee you, will constantly be in the top 12 unless the ACC steps up, grabs them by the balls, and says, we're going to beat you, or USC becomes USC again and starts beating them. Until then, guys, Notre Dame's going to steal a playoff spot every stupid year because they're always going to be in the top 12.
The teams in the playoffs, I'm still taking Indiana to beat them, and that'll put a lot of speculating on Notre Dame's invitation.
I'm just saying, you don't like how it worked out. You're mad because your team got left out for SMU. Blame Clemson, blame Notre Dame. That's your problem.
That's
true.
By
the way, there is nothing, absolutely nothing stopping a team from going, say, 7-5 and making the playoff. People not know this? That is a thing. That can happen. How?
Yeah.
You go 0-4. You go 0-4 in your non-conference, and then turn around and go 7-1 in your conference, make the conference title game, and win it.
Yeah.
You're stealing a bid. You just stole a bid from a 12-0 team. Guess what?
It is what it is.
Be annoyed at the automatic qualifier for the conference champion than what your schedule was. You got burned by it. You got burned by it, guys.
That was the deal we all made with the devil, but our friend Illini Ted, I think, kind of wraps up everything nicely for us. Just want one of the 4 big teams to win it all. Big Ten was, good enough conference this year. We had 4 outstanding teams. Wants to say that they've won the last 2 natties. They're doing the SEC. We won the national championships. Mm-hmm. I know Moen doesn't have it in his heart to claim a title that a Michigan man won. So
Never.
The conference has achieved great things. But,
I don't care about the shield on the chest. I really don't care a crap about it. Like,
I'm all for having 2 Big Ten teams make the championship again. Yes, I know Washington was in the Pac-12, but we're going to the Big Ten.
We're a Big Ten team.
It was announced before the game that we were going to the Big Ten, so it counts.
Yeah.
But that is everything to look forward to. We, everything left to play for. All the bowl games coming up. It's exciting stuff. Be sure to check out Big 12 Mafia coming up tomorrow. Big freaking Friday show where I'm sure they'll give a full rundown of the bowl slate and more of a general at large. Who knows? The entire transfer portal could explode between now and then because it probably will. But check out the Big Freaking Friday show. And then for Moen's musings with our good friend Rock and Rant, Moen After Dark on Sundays. Becky, what is your one for the road?
Just a little somber. Moen's an Ohio State alum. An Ohio State men's soccer player was shot over the weekend. He is in stable condition. He's fine. But he was just a bystander, obviously. And, thoughts are with him. Just, let everybody, things happen in life, guys. We've already seen some really disgusting things being said about Penn State from SMU fans. And you can guess what it's in regards to. There's nothing wrong with trash talk, but personal trash talk isn't necessary. It's not needed. I would never get personal with an Oregon fan. I would never get personal with a Washington State fan. If you want to get personal and stuff like that, there's no reason for it. But, just stay a little classy, keep it normal-ish, and just, we've got 2 weeks of this, guys, and there's no need for it. And I've already seen stuff from Tennessee fans with certain country from 1945 and colors matching and stuff like that. So
yeah,
no need to be this ridiculous with it. It's college football. You don't need to be personal. You don't need to be, I'll just come out and say, you don't need to be misogynistic or racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic. There's no need to do any of that crap. Keep it to the game. Talk trash about the players all you want. Talk trash about the school all you want. No need to make it like gross, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need – there's enough stuff to make fun of each other, keep it above board. Like, this is an entertainment product at the end of the day. If you're so upset in your feelings you need to personally insult someone, I think that says more about you. So we're all for trash talking, even if SEC fans or people want to come on our show and trash talk us and chat, let's just keep it above board. And absolutely, I'm glad to hear that the Ohio State soccer player is in stable condition. That's a crazy thing to happen. It's never something you want to happen to anyone, but good to hear that he sounds like he's doing okay. Moen, you have anything to add? You're one for the road.
Go Hoosiers, beat Notre Dame.
Let's go. My one for the road, I was not able to watch the Oregon-Penn State game because I was watching the fighting 4A classification Sumner Spartans against Camas in the state championship. 4A is the highest classification in the state of Washington. I am a third-generation Sumner Spartan alumni, and my nephew is currently the backup center on the team. Back-and-forth game against Camas, who is ranked number 1 in the state. And on a kick with 4 seconds to go, the fighting Sumner Spartans took home their first state championship since 1977. So go Sparts. It's a happy day, and I'm not kidding you when I swear to God there was not a single person left in the town of Sumner when that game was being played. One of the news reporters posted, and they said, I'm pretty sure if there was a fire in Sumner right now, there'd be no one to report it and no firefighters to put it out. And he was probably right because we filled up our entire side of the lower bowl. It's not a big town, but we love our football. So it was awesome to see them win a state championship. So that is my one for the road. Going to be a proud champion, even though I did absolutely nothing other than not get kicked out of high school. So, yeah, good day for us. We appreciate everyone being here and joining us for the show. We got a lot of good stuff. We'll definitely get into bigger CFP breakdowns and bowl previews as we get closer to those games. But from myself, Becky, and Mo, and everyone here at College Football Mafia, we appreciate you being here, and we will see you next Monday. Go Navy, beat Army.